Hey, good morning. It's good to see you today. My name is Philip Thomas, pastor of Journey Church here in Elgin. This is Tom Burns with the Redeemed Idiot. It is still Tom. He has a little bit of different haircut. I'm not going to say a word because I have the same haircut that I've had for the last about 15 years. And, I don't have many options. So, but it is good to see you today. We're going to be going through Revelation, kind of a recap of this last year. I will let you know we did this 2 weeks ago and had technical difficulties, and I couldn't get it to come out right. And then life has happened. I've been out of town. Tom has been out of town. So we apologize for the little bit of a delay. But this is going to carry us through the end of December, into the 1st of January, and then we'll be picking up right on our normal schedule of Wednesday nights. And continuing going through the book of Revelation. But we're up to chapter 6. So we're just going to kind of quick do a high level of chapter 6. And I think the reason this is important, and let's just really hit again why it's important to even spend time on Revelation. And ultimately it is about redemption. But if someone asks you, hey, why are you spending so much time on Revelation, what would you say to them?
To understand it, I guess, because it's one of those books growing up with, and all the movies out there, so much misunderstanding and not understanding, and all these supernatural weird things are going to happen, and magic, and it just didn't make sense, and I wanted to understand it. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons I went down with. There's a personal reasons I went down that had nothing to do with Revelation, but that's pretty much is like, what does this book actually say?
Right.
What I didn't know when I started it, that it was going to take me so long to figure it out.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it, I'll say this, the beauty of it, what I love so much about Revelation is it forced my hand to understand the rest of the Bible.
Yes.
And not just try to read all the words in Revelation, pick up a couple things, make up some interpretations and carry on. But it forced me to go understand the rest of the Bible. And I was like, wow, this is an amazing, insanely work of writing that
it is a God-inspired work.
Yeah. And I made the statement. I said, I don't care how many writers, there's 40, obviously. Yeah. No, I mean, cool. They just penned it.
Yeah.
Because this has to be something, a person, a God that is so intelligent and sovereign, and to write this the way it is written, there's no way that man was able to do this on their own. I don't care what anybody says. Yes.
So as you get to that, that is what I have really enjoyed over the last year getting into Revelation, is not even the piecing together what's going to happen, which it does lay that out.
Oh yeah,
more clearly than what most of us have thought, right? But it's actually a beautiful book because it is the conclusion of this redemptive history of mankind that God has been doing from the beginning, right? And without understanding Genesis, you can't fully understand Revelation. Without understanding Revelation gives even more perspective to Genesis, right? And and here's the path that we're going on as we talk about this and this is going to sound trite and weird, but we actually believe that this is true. Like all of it. Like that this book, it's not just about some, mythical stories that happened. It's not just about, hey, here's a good way to live your life and let's treat everybody well. And hey, there's this good model that we have that's Jesus. We actually believe that everything is true. So yes, does it point us to God incarnate in Jesus Christ and his redemptive act on the cross and his resurrection? Yes, but it also lays out all of his work in history, right? And the overall arching plan. And surprisingly, there's a lot of times that it's only specific to a few points in that historical arc, if you will. The beginning, the Exodus, if you will, the formation of his chosen people, right? And then through them, it starts prophesying a whole bunch of stuff that is to come, right? And that's the Messiah. So then you have a lot of time and detail about the time of the Messiah. But then from the Old Testament and then into that period, then you start having these prophecies of what is to come. So then there's, in the historical sense, there's not much happening, if you will, for nearly 2,000 years, because it's projecting, hey, this is a process that's playing out over history.
Yep.
And there's times in history where it is very specific. And what Revelation does is it's the wrap up of when things are going to get specific again, if you will, right? That and that's why Jesus says, pay attention to the signs of the time.
Right.
So God has been working for the last 2,000 years, and he's been working in different ways.
Yep.
But history has been unfolding, and we've been moving towards this wrap up. And then Revelation actually gives us some specifics again, just like Exodus gives us some specifics of how God worked in Egypt. Very specifically, here's what he did. He parted the Red Sea. He did all of this stuff, and incorporated some supernatural stuff, right? Well, now we have Revelation that is wrapping it all up and saying, listen, this is where things are heading. Pay attention, so that especially as you get into those times, you can be pointing people to the author of all this. You can be pointing people to Jesus Christ. And it will be a unique time when we enter in to when this all fully gets kicked off. We are going to be able to have tangible things that are saying, listen, this is what the Bible said was going to happen. This is please start paying attention. Maybe if the things that were written 2,000 years ago and they're coming to true now, you know what? That supports the fact that maybe this Jesus guy is the Son of God. He did die. He did, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that it actually strengthens our case for redemption and for salvation through Christ.
Yeah, I love that. And when you understand it, you don't even need as much faith as you think you do.
Right.
Because a lot of our faith is based on belief, like because we heard this, okay, I believe. But when you really understand and dive into this and you see the facts of it, and that it's actually a very real events historically and all the things that have happened, is like, you don't even need faith so much even to believe in Christ. It gets easier. And he's like, well, this guy must have really existed, because everything else is true. And that's the point. Like, I don't know. I'm beyond even believing this is accurate. I know it's accurate. And like when we did the study, one of my favorite things on here is aside from all the prophecies of the Messiah, of Christ coming, was the specific number of years to when he was actually going to show up. And every bit of that played out to when he showed up and he was there and telling the Jews, I'm here. I told you. The prophet's been writing about it. Not just one prophet, multiple prophets. And here I am, and you still don't get it.
And Jesus specifically called out the religious leaders. He said, y'all are the ones who should know this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And he was actually referring to those prophecies. He's like, hey, y'all are the teachers of the law, and pay attention to that. Y'all, how are you missing this? I laid it out for you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's, would you agree with, that's basically what's going to happen
exactly
when the tribulation starts. Let's say that the tribulation is going to start, and people are going to be saying, hey, pay attention. This is what has been laid out. And there will be a lot of people who are just like those religious leaders back then, who are still like, no, that can't be true. It's like, no, that's just, it's true, right? That's where we are.
Yeah. Yes. Because we take tribulation, we kind of think of it's like this period of time of a bunch of events happening. Yes, it's true. It is. But the tribulation is the coming of Christ. All 7 years, it's the coming of Christ.
Process. Yeah.
And it's just the first time he comes from the decree with Artaxerxes was laid out 487 years. That was the first no crap timeline given. I will be here in 487 years. So I got my number right.
Yeah.
And he showed up. So that's 487 years of him coming and all the prophecies fulfilled. This is the same thing. It's just now at 487. It's just 7 years.
Yeah.
And it's just him coming and like, I'm going to be here in 7 years. pay attention to these things that are going on. And it happened once. And every prophecy was fulfilled.
Yeah.
And it's undeniable. Now, of course, there's those out there like being Daniel, one of the books, like there's no way that book was written before Christ because it's too accurate.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they found them in the Dead Seas, like scrolls. No. And that was when people's minds get blown. Like, how can that book be that accurate if it was written 400, 500 years before Christ, but everything came out exactly as he was written? That's the whole point. It's real.
Right. Yeah.
You can try to deny it, but it is real. Go historically and find out. Go listen to apologetics. Go listen to where that book came from. Just one book.
Yes.
If that happened once and 487 years of truth happened out of it, I have no problem believing that 7 years is going to happen out of it. And especially because of what's happened to us historically in the last 2,000 years has actually happened exactly as it was written.
Yeah.
And here we are. And now we're looking at what would be essentially the next 7 or the 7 years when it starts.
Yeah. Yeah.
When that starts, I don't know, but I'm beyond believing it's right. I just know it's truth.
Yeah.
It's too,
and we'll get into it. But one thing just to focus even more on that. Again, you do have to get to the point. You can listen to this and you can listen to all the arguments, but eventually you're going to have to come to the place to say, okay, yeah, I believe it's true.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to you can always find arguments against, but you need to be at least open to the refuting those arguments. You brought up Daniel. You brought up it. It literally lays out a geopolitical events of what happened in the world, and it did it hundreds of years before they happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no way a man named Daniel could have predicted that a guy named Alexander the Great from this tiny little country that he may not have even heard of, right, was going to eventually conquer the world, and then it was going to be broken up into four. Right? It's perfect, and the Bible actually, we're not interpreting this. This is what Daniel says. Yes, it uses goats and bears and weird things, and you're like, well, what is that talking about? And then it specifically says, yeah, this is Media Persia and this is Greece.
Yeah,
right. So
in the original writing,
and the only argument that people had against that for a long time was that this was written after all that had happened.
Yep.
Now we have found evidence and proof that says, no, it looks like it was actually written back there in the time of Daniel.
Yep.
Now, so there's only two options. If it was written in the time of Daniel, there is no way a human could have predicted that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either put your trust that God inspired this and he's behind it, or you can put your trust in our carbon dating systems and our scientific minds that try to rationalize things. But even those that the scientific community would have agreed that Daniel was written after. And then all of a sudden in 1946, a shepherd boy throws a rock into a cave. And all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, this stuff has been written a lot longer.
Yeah.
Right. And our own science that we will use to disprove, now using that same science is proving, oh, this was actually written a lot earlier. So now you can come up with another excuse not to believe. You certainly can. Moving forward, I just want you to know where we are.
Right.
We believe it's 100% true.
Absolutely. And to your other point you're making, just on Book of Revelation, I think when I was teaching on Revelation 1, I did a summary. And the point of the rest of the book, the rest of the Bible, how it supports Revelation, it's like a summary, is that we went through 31 books just to read Revelation 1 to understand it. It's already been said in the rest of the Bible. It's just like a great way it summarizes what's going to happen. All of Revelation is already prophesied throughout the rest of the Bible. Yeah. It's kind of just a summary.
Yeah. No, that's
amazing.
That's right. It is an amazing book. And people will say, well, why is it so hard to understand? And well, there's many reasons for that.
Yeah.
Some of it was intentional because it was written in a time that they needed to be careful about saying Jesus is Lord. So they say Jesus is Lord very clearly, but in language that's, a little bit different. Also, we're talking about, this is written in a cultural context of thousands of years ago. Things that were just common knowledge to them have been lost in the 2,000 years since. So we have to do some research to figure all of that out. It's not as complicated as we make it out, but yet it is, because of the time and the cultural difference. And frankly, we're a lot dumber now, and we don't take time to truly get into it. And we've just kind of said, oh, well, we're a lot smarter now. We know that all those kind of mystical things, and that can all be, for example, we know that demonic possession, that's all that is mental illness, right? We deceive ourselves by thinking that way, and I understand that, and I'm sympathetic to that. But it really is such a powerful testimony to Jesus Christ, and that is the purpose of it, right? So Revelation chapter 1, the revelation of who? Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show to his servants the things that must soon take place. He made known by sending his angel to the servant John, who bore witness to the word of the testimony of Jesus Christ, even to all that he saw. Blessed is the one who reads aloud the words of this prophecy, and blessed are those who hear and to keep what is written in it, for the time is near. Okay, so let just real quick, we've kind of given a summary. This clearly makes it, this is about Jesus Christ. It's his redemptive plan. It's pointing people to Christ. But what we see here is that John is given this revelation. He's actually seeing this take place, right? And we'll see how he's told to write this down. Now it says the things that will soon take place, and it says that the time is near. Okay, we hear that in our terms, and so we put ourselves, well, wait, Revelation would have been written, there's debates, but possibly in the 90s, not 1990s, the 90s.
Yeah. The 90s.
Yeah. So we think soon and near, we're way past soon and near, right? In our minds.
Right.
But what is that really? What's behind that terms, soon and near?
So behind the word soon is to be imminent. So we went through this, but it's really meaning it's already started.
It's already started.
And obviously the next two chapters in this is talking about church history. So in 90, I know there's a lot of debate on this, and I put in, it's like 96 to 100, only because that is the time that John was released from Patmos. Yeah. Because in Patmos, he was when he went into the vision to seeing all this. So he got released, hence he wrote it later, which had been when he was finally released under a new emperor in 96. But so that means the church had already started. Christ already here. The church already started through the disciples much earlier. Essentially, from the point when he was crucified and resurrected is the time the church was starting.
Yeah.
So the imminency of this church history has already started. That's going to take over from that point to 2,000 years later to where we are today. And then were the things that must soon take place?
The things, he says, it make known. The things that must soon, so to show his servant the things that must soon take place.
So the soon to take place, that word soon, we just it's a very general term, but here it was season. That there's a season, this season's going to take place. And that season is talking about in here at that time is going to be what to recognize, be looking for it. And that's the change that goes from the period of church history that we're living in now to when it switches, and these things that we're looking for now, what we call Revelation tribulation, will start taking place, which is where chapter 6 kind of kicks off. Yeah.
So essentially whenever it talks about soon and near and that the time is near and stuff like that, the moment that Christ was resurrected, right, and established his church, that started the clock, if you will. That the time of his returning now began. Right now, time is different, right? And so it was going to be many years, but the season now has begun, right?
Right.
I think of it, the moment that Molly and I got married, we began the Thomas family history began. It was going to play out over years before our first child was born, and then our second child, and then our third child, and then bringing to a culmination of our family. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's kind of what's happening here whenever it's using those terms. It doesn't mean time-wise this is going to happen next month.
Right. Exactly.
But we are in the season. The season has begun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think I said that wrong here in a second, because I said soon twice.
Yes. Yeah.
So soon is the imminence, which is in verse 1 or 2.
Yes, that's the things that must soon take place.
Okay, so that's the things that must soon take place, and that's where we're now. The next part was in 1:3. It says time is near.
For the time is near.
So I want to rephrase. I said soon is season. I'm sorry, that's imminent. Time is actually translated in the original Greek and what's Koine Greek as season is near.
Yeah.
So I said that wrong here, so I want to make a correction on that. The season is near. That season is when he is going to return.
Yeah. Yeah. So that and so the time is near. We're imminent. Things must soon take place.
Correct. Right.
And again, don't think that means it has to happen tomorrow.
Right.
But we're in those seasons.
Right. And we're supposed to recognize those seasons.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to kick off on this, because this is something that gets completely mistaught, and what people have a misunderstanding of Revelation. They say, well, we're not going to know things until the end. God will let us know then. There's mysteries, there's things we can't know, and hidden books, hidden messages, hidden meanings. All a bunch of garbage, because verse 1 and 2 tells us that is not true, because the word revelation in the original Greek is actually disclosure. And then it further says that Christ gave testimony, which means in testimony in the original Greek means holds nothing back. So he gave a disclosure holding nothing back of the things that must soon take place. Therefore, it is a legal statement by Christ to this book of this prophecy saying, I am holding nothing back. I'm going to tell you everything. This is my promise and my testimony to you. Meaning, in a legal disclosure kind of way, nothing in here is hidden.
Yeah.
Nothing in here you cannot know. I'm telling you everything. You don't have to wait till I come back. You don't have to wait till you die. There's no mysteries. There's no hidden books. No messages, no meanings. It's all here. And that's the beauty of that very first 2 verses in this. It lets you know Christ is making a legal statement. What's coming up next you're going to read? You get to know it all. But you have to. Verse 3 tells us, be blessed. And Proverbs tells us being blessed, you have to go seek his wisdom to understand it. And that is only found in the other 65 books of the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that
I have to put that out there. So
and it is interesting, because verse 3, blessed is the one who reads aloud the words of this prophecy, and blessed are those who hear.
Yep.
Now, I believe that is true. However, most people today, when they read Revelation, they don't feel blessed, right? They're filled with fear and discouragement and confusion. Okay, that clearly is not God's intention. So we have to understand that's part of probably being in the signs of the times that we're in, that it's being more clouded to even understanding this. God wouldn't have given us the book of Revelation if in order to just cause confusion. So so if we're finding confusion in it, it's because we're not seeking truth in the right places.
Correct.
And to find the truth of Revelation, it does take a lot, because again, we're talking about cultural differences, language differences, all of that. But we should not become fearful from this book. It is actually telling us how Christ is going to make everything right again.
No, being fearful of this is almost like if you were in prison, being fearful because you're coming up and you're going to, for a pardon or to be taken out of prison. It really kind of the same thing. You should be looking forward to it happening so you can get out of prison and go live your own life. This is the same thing, really.
This is how God is going to completely
to redeem us and deliver us,
to redeem and to eliminate sin and death and all of that. Yeah,
it's a great thing.
So we're going to go ahead and we'll do another one where we'll go through the churches, but There in verse 4, John to the 7 churches that are in Asia. Grace and peace to you, who is, who was, who is to come, from the 7 spirits who are before his throne, from Jesus Christ, the faithful witnesses, the firstborn from the dead, the ruler of the kings of the earth. So John is he's saying who he's writing this to. It are literal churches, right? But he's also introducing who this is all about, right? So the one who is to come. This is clearly talking all about Christ, right? And he says, to him who loves, who's freed us from the sins of by his blood, made us a kingdom, priest to God and Father. To him be glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Behold, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, even those who pierced him, and all the tribes of the earth will wail on account of him. Even so, amen. So he is giving the big picture of the end right here, right? He's saying this is how it's going to work out. Anything in those that want to dive down, it's to me, this is pretty obvious what he's establishing.
Yeah, it is.
And I love this. I am the Alpha and the Omega, right? We've been talking about that Revelation is the summary of the full redemptive story of God. The Alpha and the Omega, that's the beginning and the end. That was the first letter and the last letter of the Greek alphabet. Who is, who was, and who is to come, the Almighty. Right? So he's establishing who Jesus is, which is extremely important through the rest of Revelation.
Yeah.
Then you get I, John, brother and partner in the tribulation and the kingdom and the patient endurance that are in Jesus, was on the island of Patmos, an account of the word and the testimony of Jesus. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day and heard behind me a loud voice like a trumpet saying, write what you see in this book and send it to the 7 churches. And then it lists the 7 churches. So this is, let's just delve a little bit. What is John experiencing here?
So yeah, he mentioned the patient endurance. But he is experiencing tribulation, not the tribulation that we kind of think about in terms of that 7-year tribulation. But without going into all the Greek, tribulation means he's dealing with things that are bad at the time. And now during this period of time, you have these multiple emperors and people to believe were going through tribulation. Some were martyred. Some were thrown on an island for the testimony of Jesus Christ. Hence, this is where he's at, the last of the disciples. So he's experiencing the same thing that other people experience, being martyred and what's the other word? Not martyred, not
persecuted.
Persecuted. Yeah, the persecution. So that's kind of the whole point to it. This is a real world thing that's going on, but he's telling them to patiently endure. There's a promise coming. Yeah. It's going to suck. Endure it. But there is the living God that's going to come and fix all this.
Yeah, which is why many people don't like the book of Revelation, because most people in our culture today, there's 2 words, whether they know it or not, 2 words that they hate, is being patient and enduring. And so what is John?
That's a good point.
He's putting those together, that you have to endure, because endure means you're going through something you don't want to have to go through. That's what it means. And then you have to patiently endure, which means it's going to take longer than you want it to be, right? So
that's actually
so we don't really like that at all. But John is telling us that, or actually Christ is telling John that. Then verse 12, then I turned to see the voice that was speaking to me, and on turning I saw 7 golden lampstands, and in the midst of the lampstands one like a son of man, clothed with a long robe, with a golden sash around his chest. Hairs of his head were white like wool, like snow. His eyes like a flame of fire. His feet were burnished bronze, refined in the furnace. His voice was like the roar of many waters. In his right hand he held 7 stars. From his mouth came a sharp 2-edged sword, and his face was like the sun, shining in full strength. This is clearly a very powerful image of Christ, right? What are some of those? I mean, the 7 golden lampstands.
But those are the churches.
Those are the churches. In the midst of them is the Son of Man, right? So Christ.
One like the Son of Man.
Like the Son of Man.
So key word in this is word like. So we know this is Christ, and Christ is referred to himself as the Son of Man, but this one says like the Son of Man. So there's something different. It's not, and what the difference is, and I explained, this goes back in the New Testament. You can look at, he came as a lamb. But now his position he's taken up, we'll learn it here, he's now coming in like the lion. He's about ready to put judgment on the world.
Yes.
So that's why he's like him, but a little different.
And that's what we see with the head of white wool, snow, redemption. That was this is imagery here, symbolism.
Yeah. So all of these things in here, this is just describing Christ in different ways and what he's doing and what his job is, and not using his name, but using what he's doing. So all these things, you actually can go back, almost all of them back into the Old Testament and see that this is who it's talking about. Now, back then we referred to it as being God, but it's actually him in the same imagery being Jesus Christ, who is God. And to give a perfect example of this, like when it says the sound of many rushing waters, he's talking about the person behind him, turns around and sees Jesus Christ. Well, how can he be the sound of many rushing waters? That confuses a lot of people. This is where I said, you got to understand the other 65 books of the Bible, go seek his wisdom. You go back to, I think it's Ezekiel 46, the sound of many rushing waters entered the temple from the east. And that was the grace and the grace of God. So he is the grace of God that's entering the temple.
That are those rushing waters that enter. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's the beauty of it. It mirrors, and that's where the other 65 books of the Bible support this. And if you need the answer, go find the rest of it. And like, rushing waters. He's telling him he is the grace of, I think it's grace, the grace of God.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
and
it's insane.
And then we have the feet in burnished bronze, right? It's kind of setting his feet to go to war, right?
Yeah.
The imagery that's there.
Yep. We went through that, but yeah, well, I'm not going to go through all the whole Old Testament stuff, but yeah, his feet is set on, you can say war is a good word.
Or conquering.
Yep.
Or, yeah.
Yep. Going to take out bad guys.
In his right hand, he held 7 stars. From his mouth, a sharp 2-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
So again, this is not the Lamb. Right?
No, not anymore.
This is not the one who came to give himself up.
He already did it.
Sacrifice. He did that. Now he's coming to judge. He's coming to, and this is
says he's coming to condemn the world now.
Yes. Which this is where our culture, we don't like this. We like the lovey-dovey Jesus, and that Jesus just loves everyone. He does.
Absolutely.
But this is his justice. He is also brings justice.
Because he is God.
Yes. And he's bringing that.
Yep.
It says, when I saw him, I fell at his feet as though dead. I love that because that's what you do whenever you encounter the true risen Christ. That's your only response.
It's funny. Daniel did the same thing. There's other times in the Old Testament.
The shepherds.
The shepherds
did the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but he laid his right hand on me, saying, "Fear not," which that's the common thing as well.
Yeah.
I am the first and the last, the living one. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore. I have the keys of death and Hades. Write therefore the things that you have seen. So again, this is emphasizing supernaturally, if you will, God's power. He's revealing this stuff. John is actually seeing all this, and he is just writing down what he's seen with very little commentary. He's just, this is what I see, right? And are those that are to take place after this. As for the mystery of the 7 stars that you saw in my right hand and the 7 golden lampstands, the 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches. The 7 lampstands are the 7 churches. So when it says angels, we think of that as somebody that has wings and wears a white robe and stuff. Yeah. That's just the messenger. That's probably actually what we would call the pastor of that church. Is the messenger of that.
That's exactly what it is. So the word is angelos. And actually, originally in the Koine Greek, angelos was messenger, someone who delivered, a human being who delivered something. It wasn't until later in the Greek that it actually became a heavenly figure with wings and sat on clouds and did all the cool things. And what's really kind of cool about that, if you disagree with that, go back and read when John the Baptist was imprisoned. Go look it up in the original Koine Greek. He actually called John the Baptist, this is Christ Hawken, an angel, because he was a messenger.
He was a messenger. Yeah.
He was given the message of Christ coming. So it's actually talking about essentially the pulpit, the pastors, the preachers, all things, that this is going to the 7 churches, going to be delivered to them. There's one scroll to them. to teach all that.
To teach it all.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're going to stop there. And next time we'll try to get through all the churches. We probably can in one.
We probably could.
Yeah. Probably. But basically what has now been set up is the time is near, right? So this is the redemptive process that's happening. We do know that at some point Christ is going to come back, right? And now he's going to kind of lay out the course of history that is going to be happening from the time that John is writing this all the way up to that literal point where he comes back. And so as he goes through the churches, these are both literal churches, but they also correspond historically to the church age as we've gone throughout history.
And they also represent churches of today.
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
Every church can be facing the same faults that these churches are. So.
And one last note, so I don't forget, because a lot of people like the book, how does he know he was using a dream state? Here's the interesting thing about John. He is literally told to physically write. It's either 12 or 13 times through this. Christ's like, write it.
Yeah.
So how does John remember? Well, he was writing it at the same time. So when he came out of this and he ended up out of prison, it's all documented. But he was actually physically told to write 12 or 13 times. So it's not a memory thing like, how do I explain that?
And that's important. You did talk about, because this wasn't just a feeling that he got. This wasn't just a prompting from the Holy Spirit. Right. It wasn't even a dream. Right. It was different than that. God does communicate in all those ways that I just said. In fact, that's the normal way that he does is through promptings and things.
Yeah.
But that's not what John is claiming to have experienced, right?
Exactly.
He's like, no, this was something different. He laid this out for me. He didn't just tell me so that I'm interpreting. I'm writing it along as I'm seeing this play out.
Yep, exactly.
Which again is important because there is a chronological aspect.
Yep,
to Revelation.
exactly.
And that comes into play, especially in the latter part.
Exactly.
And so we'll wrap up there. One thing that we have said before is we don't think the tribulation has started. But we do believe that we're moving in that direction.
We're definitely in that season.
We're in that season.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're a lot closer than when John wrote this.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.